What the frick? Yeah, the Donald likes to be a little outrageous, and he thinks he's funny. Yep. Even if we did, I don't think much would change here where we are. We're going to become self sufficient. So I don't really care what government is in charge. When we're completely self sufficient, we won't need anything or any help, or just stay the hell away from us and we'll be fine. Probably less taxes, yeah. And you know what? To be honest, if it meant no taxes on no taxes on profits that you made from crypto investments, then I would be game for that because they take a lot from taxes when you cash in crypto. That I like I like everything that's happening with Trump and the way things are changing here in Canada, except that now climate change is basically completely forgotten. So this is just going to speed up the process. Yeah, that's right. Solution Seeker could just drive here with no problems. Yeah. Yeah, but then all of the Americans could just drive up here. Ugh. And this is where all the California people would come too. Like I said, California has a lot of karmic debt to pay because that's the home of Hollywood and Silicon Valley. So everything to do with the screen basically comes from California, doesn't it? So I think that they're going to have biblical, like literally biblical apocalyptic things happening in California, like the wildfires. There'll be an atmospheric river. I'm predicting within the next 10 years, within the next 20 years for sure. An atmospheric river that floods a quarter of the whole freaking California. More wildfires, of course, and probably the big one, the San Andreas Fault, that the big earthquake within the next 20 years. All of that's going to happen to California. Biblical. And everyone will be blaming the Democrats and each other, and it's like way deeper than that, right? It's spiritual. Everything that happens in this world is spiritual in nature. So everyone's blaming each other at a superficial level when it's far, far, far deeper than that. It's at a spiritual level. And like California is the heart of vanity too, right? Like it's going to be in for a rough go. Wherever you find condensed, I've been down there a couple of times and a few times, and the people are so condensed. The population is so condensed there that it's going to lead to crazy, and it has. And the high concentration of universities too. So wherever you find a lot of people, especially in first world nations, wherever you find a lot of people, you'll probably find a lot of academia, and that's where all the woke and all the crazy Democrat nonsense comes out of, right? Basically from academia. What will change? Everything's going to get worse, right? Like worse. The climate is just going to keep getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and there's going to be more fires and more natural disasters. Like this is the beginning of the end, right? So no one should be hoping that things are going to get better. Oh, well, the models, none of the models seem to be predicting what's actually happening. And I believe it's because we're in an exponential phase, and exponential humans don't get it. Like the human nervous system doesn't know how to handle anything exponential. And models, like you can't predict what's going to happen when the exponential function is or system is almost straight up. Like it's who knows what the fuck's going to happen. do stuff. Lift heavy objects. Lift heavy objects and eat lots of protein. Push-ups are great. There was a time where I didn't have access to a gym, and I was just living in a tiny little apartment by myself, and I would just do push-ups and sit-ups, push-ups and squats. That was my workout. I just do a whole whack load of push-ups and squats. It's gonna help to be physically strong. I have a punch bag too. I'm probably not the type that turn the other cheek. I I have a short temper too at times. I think it has to do with testosterone. Probably. I know it's not. I have a big announcement to make too. These guys got to show up. Peter and freaking Solution Seeker, Sanjay, and Rusty hasn't shown up for a month or so. I don't know. I've got really big news. Pretty big news. I'd kind of like to share it with everyone if everyone showed up. I can't say yet. I'm going to wait maybe till the end. I can't give a hint because it's too easy to actually figure out if I gave a hint, I think. There he is. Feeling better? Callie's sick with some respiratory thing. Oh, it'll have to be over Tuesday, after Tuesday, because on Tuesday, I have a meeting. Guess with who? You're not supposed to mock your cult leader. You're not supposed to make fun of your cult leader. It's against the cult rules. Well, now I won't tell you. So there. I bet you can guess. It's kind of a big deal. Hey now. You didn't guess. I asked you to guess. You're not playing along. So you want me to just tell you who it is? You're no fun. No, but a friend of this guy has Bernardo on his phone, guaranteed. Now you're toying. Now, yeah, me and Leo, we're gonna have a chat, 7-hour chat. No, not Kurt. Yeah, Leo and I, we'd have a good chat. We're buds. Just as big, though. Hoffman's kind of, so Bernardo wrote a preface in this person's book. You get it? Yes. Tuesday at 1500, Federico and I are having a meeting. Snap. Or is that mic drop? I'm not sure which one to use here. Yeah, it's happening. Like, he contacted me. He emailed me and said, hey, let's meet. And then I lost my mind for a day. Now I've been levitating for a few days now. Paige witnessed it. You saw me levitate, didn't you, Paige? She's not even here. Yeah, I'm really pumped, to say the least. This has major potential. Like, after all this time and all rejection and all the ignoring and just finally someone is freaking listening to me and wants to actually have a conversation. I know. And he almost has to, it seems, I've watched a lot of his videos, right? A lot. And he seems like exactly an honest, genuine guy. And this could be it, right? This could be where it blows open. Everything just blows open. I think it will. I'm just going to let him do most of the talking. Like, I can't help but project what could possibly come about from this. Like, a book. I don't want to start imagining crazy shit, but to say that I'm excited is not doing justice. I mean, if he gets it, he could call up Bernardo and say, "Hey, Bernardo, listen to me. This guy gets it. This is it. And you should probably support this guy because this is it." Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what kind of a person Bernardo is. Well, that's what that's what I'm wondering, right? Is that he would at least listen to Federico, right? He would at least listen. He won't even listen to me. He just blocks me, right? But so many people, right? If Federico gets on board, people will listen to him and actually try to pay attention and understand what he's saying rather than just going, "Oh, well, this guy's a no-name crackpot, so I'm not even going to try because obviously he's just full of bullshit and nonsense." Right? So I can't imagine this discussion with him collapsing and just falling apart. It's got to lead to something monumental because he's a reasonable guy that's open, I believe, to criticism about where his theory runs aground, right? There are places where his theory ain't making sense, right? So I don't think I'll record it. I think the first one should be just because so the last email that I've actually sent to him was a suggestion, a proposal that his foundation sponsor this place as a spiritual retreat center, right? Because that's what he's mentioned a few times is that there should be a place to go for a person 3 or 5 days or whatever to try to have an experience. So he understands this. And that was the email that he responded to. He said he responded to that specific email about a meeting. So I don't know how much of the theory he's going to talk about or has even looked at, but he's either interested in the theory or this place being a spiritual retreat center that he would sponsor and promote, or both, right? I would imagine it's both. Like this, it could literally be the start of non-conceptuality as the successor for science, the successor to science. Like it could be, right? This guy is a scientist of the highest caliber. So I would suggest that if Peter hasn't seen him for a few weeks, but after Tuesday, I'm going to be really pumped probably to have a discussion. So after Tuesday, we'll try to organize something between you, me, and Peter. Hey. Yeah. Super pumped. Like just to have this discussion with that guy. I'm excited for the discussion alone, let alone what could come from Wednesday or Friday. Okay. Yeah, I've written up an ad. So I think 20 is going to be all systems go for promoting non-conceptuality. Like Federico just did a whole circuit of interviews with a whole bunch of YouTubers to promote his book. So he could just call up any of these guys, right? All of them, and say, "Hey, I got something new for you. If you want to have me back on with this dude," right? Like this could happen very quickly. I'm just saying, this could happen very quickly. I'm so pumped. Maybe 2026 I'll be on Rogan. I don't know. Joe and I would get along great. I think he's better at pool than I am, though. Maybe Lex would be more appropriate for the type of interview we would have. But Joe would be good too. And Kurt could beg me. Maybe I'd go on if Kurt begs me. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I actually, if I've got a heavyweight in my corner, that pulls a lot of weight. Oh, I think Kuhn's farther gone than Kurt either. I think Kuhn is at his heart is a strict materialist. I really do think so. Even more so than Kurt, I think. But Kurt's really in the weeds, right? Like he's really deep into the theory. Like he's a mathematician, right? So that's also interesting. It's also amazing. The amount of views that he got, like he went on some of these YouTubers that he went on have like 100,000 followers and stuff. So might not even need Kurt, but let's not count our chickens before we have chickens. Our eggs, let's not count our eggs before we even have chickens. And everyone here is at the heart of this, right? Like, how exciting is this? Like, we're right on the cusp of revealing the greatest revelation in the history of humanity. Yeah, it it would happen overnight, basically. Just I think we'd have to go together though. It would have to be Federico and I both going on a podcast together, I think. But once one podcaster sees it, the next will want it'll FOMO. They'll FOMO in to non-conceptuality. If you're familiar with the phrase FOMO. And then Kurt would be forced to, basically. I think Kurt would be forced to have us on if it's getting received and a lot of other YouTubers are having us on. All speculation. Like I can't imagine he'd want to talk to me to tell me that my theory is nonsense. Right? There's a reason why he wants to talk to me. Yeah. Yeah. He's unless his pride is too great to, I don't know. I think ultimately he wants views. I think he wants views more than he wants truth, to be honest. But if it happens to be both at the same time, then that would be good. He's telling the truth and getting a lot of views. But the thing about that, right, though, with all of these YouTubers that are sincere, if they actually get this, grok this, then this would be the last one, right? Like, what are they going to do? It's like they believe what they're saying, so there's no point in having other people on to discuss their theories because I know that they're freaking wrong. I even know where they're wrong. They could all see where they're wrong. So that's another fear I think that Kurt is that if this is the final concluding thing we're going to do, right? And I think that's a lot with academics too, right? Like, oh my God, I'm a philosopher, and if this ends philosophy, then that ends my job. So I have to ignore it or refute it. Oh, another kind of big thing happened. Not nearly as big as this, but I think it's cool. On X, Charles Hoskinson followed me this week. Yeah, the Cardano guy. He's a super genius, that dude. And he's a spiritual seeker. So I'm trying to lure him out here. I keep telling him, hey, you got to come out here. Slowly but surely, the people who are ready are finding me. Yes, right. That everyone on Earth is connected to everyone else through 6 degrees of separation. That is, yeah. They know them, and they know them, and they know them, and they know them. And everyone knows everyone eventually if you keep doing that. But yeah, I'm getting into this tight knit group, right? So this book was published by the Essentia Foundation. And that's Bernardo and another dude and another dude and Hoffman. He's in there too. He's part of this Essentia Foundation. So, I mean, if Federico wants to write a book with me, even if it goes against, it shows how idealism is wrong. Like, are they going to be that stubborn? If Federico says, no, you guys are wrong, this is right, this is the complete one, they're just going to say, no, Federico, you're wrong. We're not listening to you. You're blocked too. I don't think so, right? Like this, yeah, this could happen really fast. I can barely I could barely fucking contain myself. Like inside, I've got butterflies, right? Like from anticipation, not nervous, but anticipation. Just like the Super Bowl's coming up. I'm in the Super Bowl. Yeah, so I have to be spot on for Tuesday. I'm convinced, dude, he's got to be. I've been contacting him for like 4 months, I think. 3 months for sure. Emailing him and tweeting at him and stuff. So he's got, I'm pretty sure, like the very first email that I sent him was actually Dobson's paradox, because he was talking about how the liar's paradox, this statement is false, how that contributed to so much of mathematics, right? Of Gödel's theorem. So he gets it, right? So if he found that intriguing, if he thinks that there's something substantial to Dobson's paradox because it's a logical, I even said maybe this is some sort of anti-logic. I don't freaking know. So like, I'm sure that if we get talking, when we get talking, we'll both be just going, I think. It'll be so good to have an open conversation with someone instead of the conversations that I have had with the odd academic that has talked to me about this, because he was fighting it, right? Like he wasn't trying to find congruency and truth in my model. He was trying to show me how it's not original and that everyone else has said this before. And like, well, if that's the way you want to see it, then you won't see the originality of it. You won't see how novel it is. So I don't think that Federico is going to try to prove me wrong. I think he's going to have a discussion with me. And then the book. I know, right? Like, I'm going to record it for my own sake anyway, but I'm pretty sure he won't agree to recording it and having me publish it. I don't think this first meeting is the right time to do that. I think maybe a secondary discussion where we both agree, okay, well, this is going to be specifically to put online. But seriously, right? Like if any of these guys, if Kurt were to hear Federico and I have this discussion, like, how could he not recognize it as being the most profound thing that's ever fucking happened? Like, right? It's all so very fascinating what's going on right now. The nuance of all this, right? It's like, how do I get people to see this? And Federico lives in the Bay Area, so it's just a 5-hour flight to here. Like, this could happen very quickly. Anyway. And y'all are in on this, man. I'll always remember this little group. There you go. I'll need a mod. Now all I have to do is to figure out how to make money off this. Go crypto. So, Ryan, we should have agreed that we have some sort of format for this discussion that you, me, and Peter are going to have. Like, it should follow some sort of order. Like, should we talk specifically about one part of the theory maybe at a time rather than bouncing around? I tend to bounce around a lot, hey? I'm not sure how we talk, how we approach this, how we organize this. It's become very clear to me that the problem is just with nothing, right? The word nothing, the concept of nothing, and that zero equates nothing is the Kobayashi Maru situation. So zero represents singularity. Zero represents singularity, not nothing. So we have to start from zero being potential and singularity. So I think that's where I start, is at the very. It seems to me that nothing and its association, and nothing and zero, and are equating it to a void or a lack of existence, is the Kobayashi Maru situation. Yeah, that's good. So maybe I could title the first one "The Problem with Nothing" or something like that, because I think that is the problem, right? Is that fear of death comes from the belief that one will cease to exist when the body passes. And that comes from an idea that of the thing nothing, right? If you're a thing, if this is what the self is, the body, which is a thing, and that thing dies and goes away, right, then that logically means that you cease to exist when the body ceases to exist. So yeah, I think that's where I'll start, maybe, is the problem with nothing. Well, that's the thing, is how many we can. There's a lot of on ramps to this, right? So do we start with suffering? Like, that's a good one that's a good place to start, is like recognizing, hey, humanity's really messed up, right? So that's another place that we could start. And this is why we're messed up, is because of this false notion of non-existence. And Peter can add, he knows a lot more about the spiritual religious aspect, I think, than I do even. So he can provide a lot of input from the spiritual side, and you can do it perhaps from the scientific side, and I can be in the middle. It'll be good. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the recognition that the suffering within human consciousness is increasing. Probably in direct proportion with how many screens or how much time we spend in front of the screen. No. So there's your famous. Who else is famous from Slovenia? I don't know who's the most famous Canadian. Probably Trudeau right now. What? Wayne Gretzky. Slovenia is probably a big hockey country. Probably know Wayne Gretzky. Oh, Peterson. Yeah, unfortunately, he's from Canada too. 100? Ryan Reynolds. The other Ryan? Who's the other Ryan? Ryan Gosling. Ryan Reynolds. I think it's generally accepted that around the world that Canadians are the coolest people, right? We are. Just ask us. We used to be the cool kids, and now Trudeau makes us look like a bunch of dorks. Well, I have to keep in mind that I'm not spending a lot of energy trying to convince people that aren't ripe, right? I want to just present this and it in its most advanced form, and those who are ready for it are ready for it, and those who want to reject it, well, that's fine. Well, when you're suffering, you know you exist. So, yeah. See, even suffering, is better than non-existence, because non-existence is wrong. All experience is just a relative form of existence. You know you exist relative to whatever experience you're having. Whether you're wailing and lamenting about something, or you're happy and joyous, or you're having an orgasm, or you're in pain, or whatever. Yeah, suffering, everything is a distraction. But yeah, suffering, it really seems like it can circle back onto itself into a positive feedback loop, and then you're depressed, and then you end up just killing yourself, or going on a mass shooting or something. It's it's easy to suffer, but suffering isn't easy. Suffering is very difficult. But in that, all that action, you know you exist, right? Again, the less you know your true self, which is the stillness and silence and all that stuff, then the more you will seek extreme experiences, right? And when you're on a roller coaster, you know you exist, but you're not really aware of anything subtle, are you? You're just aware of crazy shit that's going on. Well, like I said, like I wrote somewhere, I wrote, the suffering isn't the lows or the bad that happens in experience. It's not recognizing that the highs and the lows, the whole thing is unsubstantial. That's how deeply rooted suffering is, right? The suffering isn't the low parts or the bad parts, it's the whole thing. It's not recognizing that the entire process is fundamentally unsubstantial. That is the true source of suffering. That's how deep and ingrained suffering is in samsara. This whole fucking thing is suffering. Like, there's different degrees of suffering, right? So I still suffer, but very, very subtly compared to most people. I suffer, but it doesn't last very long, and I get over it quick. I don't dwell on it because I know that it's imaginary. And I have my base, right? I know this, I know God, I know self. I have that stillness, that base of reality that I can immediately go to as soon as I start suffering. So no one likes suffering. That is suffering. It's not liking what's happening to you. That's the source of the suffering, is you're not accepting what's happening to you. So a lot of non-dual, neo-advaita non-dual people, they say, I don't let suffering bother me. It's like, well, you already let something bother you, because that's the suffering. You're suffering because you're letting something bother you. They just don't. But they have to say that in order to complete their model, where samsara is nirvana, nirvana is samsara, and right, like, they're very confused. this is the end, right? So this is everything that could possibly happen on this planet is occurring, right? It all, I believe that we're at the very end of every single novel experience is going to be experienced. And then it's all just complete redundancy after that, like absolute one-to-one redundancy. So we're getting to that point where every single possible thing that could happen that you could describe that could happen in this experience of on this planet, it's winding down. There's no more novel experiences within the collective consciousness. So all the extremes are occurring right now at the same time where everything's becoming homogeneous. It's quite interesting. If you look at it from one perspective, everything's bifurcating from completely down the middle, and from another perspective, everything's unifying into one homogeneous, like even the races, right? Like the races are, there's no more countries anymore. All the races are getting together, and like it's all becoming a homogeneous kerfuffle. just like thoughts and sensations have all just been delegated to electrical firings in the brain, right? It's all just one big mishmash of potpourri of thoughts and feelings, all just one thing that is consciousness. We'll sort it all out. I mean, I have sorted it all out. Where do you think this idea of nothing comes from? It's from the thing nothing model. Like it's hardwired. I keep saying it's a Kobayashi Maru. So the Kobayashi Maru is a Star Trek thing, and it's a training scenario simulation programmed that there was a no-win situation. There was no way to come out saving the people's lives in this situation, in this simulation. So Kirk knew this, Captain Kirk knew this, and he went in and he broke in to the program and he reprogrammed the Kobayashi Maru simulation so he could win. So that's nothing. So thing, nothing. And what is a thing? Well, a thing is what physics describes it to be, right? So it's hardwired into language and into the deepest level of our psyche that if it's not a thing that can be described by physics, then it simply cannot exist. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember which episode it is, but it's referenced a few times, the Kobayashi Maru. If you Google it, I'm sure quite a few scenes will pop up. But and this is the crux of the matter that people don't seem to grasp, is that unless this is fixed, that language is fixed to include non-things, so you can actually start a discussion about non-physical things that science can't describe. So until that's fixed, until now that it's fixed, that we can develop the fundamental model of reality, because there's things and phenomena that aren't things that exist beyond the measuring parameters of scientific contraptions. And then there's potential, right? So nothing no longer exists, and zero represents singularity, because a one has poles. So how does a one represent singularity? It doesn't. It has dualistic properties to it. And a circle is the perfect symbol for singularity, right? So now there's singularity is replacing nothing, right? Singularity is the potential for plurality, right? This fixes it. It's just, you just fix the fucking language. And it won't be fixed until you fix this language. It is the Kobayashi Maru condition that makes all 220 theories that are out there incomplete, because they're all operating on this notion that there's nothing, that there is a lack of existence, because the language hasn't been fixed. Yeah, but I don't care, because the nuance that I'm talking about is required, right? This is better. If people want to understand it, they can Google Kobayashi Maru. But when you say no-win situation, that doesn't imply that it's intentionally programmed to not succeed, and the program needs to be in order to win, right? So I get it. Only a small percentage of the people will get the Kobayashi Maru reference, but it's perfect, because no win doesn't include the intentional programming and then the intentional reprogramming of it to make it work, right? So I agree, and I'm staying with it, of course. If people want to understand it at the level that I'm trying to explain it to them, then they'll figure out what a Kobayashi Maru situation is, and that it requires this reprogramming. I've spoken. And I agree with you. But I tend to go for depth of understanding rather than, like, I tend to go for quality rather than quantity. So I'd rather have 2 people understand it at a great depth than 2,000 people get it at a lesser depth, right? And I've been a Trekkie ever since I was a freaking teenager. Trekker. Saturday mornings, that was it, man. Rocket Robin Hood, Spider-Man, Star Trek, the original. I lived for Saturday mornings. All right, gang, I'm going to call it. There's a lot of football to be watching today, so we're getting down to the end. So, all right, so I will get a hold of Peter, and I'll try to go for, what did you say, Wednesday or Friday? No, what did you say, Wednesday or Friday, right? Yeah, Wednesday or Friday. Wednesday. Okay. I'll try to set up something. Okay. I'll contact Peter. And boy, oh boy, it might be a really interesting discussion, if you know what I mean. All right. So I'm not big on prayer, but if you want to hold it in your consciousness that this goes well for me, Federico, then that would be great. Yeah, thanks, guys. So I'll talk to you guys next weekend for sure. Toodaloo.